And now let's try and tune in to no good music from an undisclosed location somewhere in New Jersey.
She don't give a crap about her bad reputation.
He can't smile too much, right? Because he's trying to play saxophone.
Yeah. And then there's a guy with a deep voice every once in a while going, yeah. That was his only job.
And I was parking. I look up on a marquee, and there's my name.
He looked like he was out of a horror movie, and he was thinking of something devious.
I'm a rock and roll guy.
Hey everyone, this is Rob.
And Jeremy.
And we're on show 57. And I'm feeling a little better today than the last podcast. I don't even remember
Very
when
good.
we recorded. Today's I'm trying to think of what we recorded yesterday, didn't we? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
It was a long
That's
day.
what I was like.
Yeah. I'm still tired, from I think I'm still getting over the COVID. Got to keep trying to feel human. I did go on the treadmill.
Oh, good.
I went on the treadmill even last week. I try to go every other day. It's not like I'm out of breath or anything, obviously. And I did quit smoking. So
Good. Yeah.
it's been a while. Today we're talking about a movie we're going to talk about, I wasn't going to talk about both movies, but we're going to we have to compare them a little bit. So the movie is Footloose. It's turning 40, I think, in like 5 days. Came out in 1984. We're going to tell you how they got the idea for the movie. And based on that, because it was a weird law or ban on dancing in a town, I found some weird music laws.
Perfect.
We're going to go into that. And we also have a top 10 we're going to do from week ending February 18th, 84. So right around that time, see what was on the top 10. Let's go into some weird, and we're not drinking, we're remote still, and I'm drinking water, actually, no beer.
I have a whiskey and Coke.
Oh, nice. Oh, I should have got my whiskey. I found a new whiskey. I don't know if it's new, but it's
Okay.
called like Howler Monkey or something. There's a monkey.
I've never heard of that one.
I always am drawn to like weird named, whatever it is, beer, spirit. If it has a weird name, I'm like, oh, let me try that. It's around the same price as I usually drink Four Roses. So it was like $40 for the bottle. I haven't tried it yet, but I'm just drinking water tonight.
Understood.
Okay. This is going to be brief, but I have some weird laws. And as far as I can tell, these are still laws and these are true. It's hard to find, I guess, unless you live in that state or that area, whether anybody enforces these laws or how long they've been on the books or no one's protested, so they just left them on there. So Milwaukee, Wisconsin, it's against the law to play a flute and drums on the streets to attract attention.
Okay.
So you can't just go down the street and, whatever you're trying to sell, or you can't have someone playing a flute. It says flute and drums. So I don't know if you can play them separately. You could play just the drums. You might be okay. Then we have Tennessee. Well, this is actually a county. It says if you live in Oneida, Oneida, and enjoy old campfire songs, be careful. An ordinance forbids anyone to sing the song "It Ain't Gonna It ain't gonna to rain no mo. And I'm not making that up. That's the name of the song. So that must go way back. Can't sing that
Camptown
song.
Ladies is okay.
Can't sing that song. I don't know it, but I don't know what the when they arrest you, what the penalty is for these.
Okay.
I don't think it's death, so it should be okay.
That's good.
You might be a fine. Nags Head, North Carolina. You can be fined for singing out of tune for more than 90 seconds. Now, the origin of this law is thought to come from a 19th century court case in which a man was fined for singing loudly and poorly. However, the case may have had more to do with disturbing the peace than being out of tune.
Okay.
In Boston, it's illegal to play the fiddle. Yes.
All right.
They don't like fiddle music. I don't either. No one ever said, "Oh, I got to get that new fiddle album by Dee Snider." Like Dee Snider.
If the devil shows up and you have to go up against him, you could win that golden fiddle.
Mm-hmm.
So
the devil goes down to Georgia. He's probably playing a fiddle.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so those were the weird music laws. And you know what? I forgot on our last podcast, there's two great music trivia shows. If I can remember the names. I think the one is the one is just called What's Name That Tune.
It's either What's That Tune or Name That Tune, one of those, yeah.
Yeah, because I think there was an old show called Name That Tune, so maybe they brought it back. So they have, I think it's Randy Jackson is on the keyboards. I think they have other band members. So they kind of are playing the notes. They're not playing the actual songs. So anyway, Name That Tune. And then the other one is, I think it's called We Are Family.
Yep.
And Jeremy and I we've watched that one, which is a really cool show. But it's a really odd show because there's contestants, but there's not one contestant in the beginning. There's like 40 or 50, I don't know how many people, like buzzing in.
Yeah, it's like The Price is Right. There's an audience, maybe not that big, but there's a bunch of audience that are contestants.
Yeah.
And they get to guess to kind of be the main contestant in the show.
Yeah, they have, it's a family member of the person who's behind this. Sphere. I don't know what it is. It's like a dome that's kind of fogged over. You can kind of see their silhouette, and they don't do necessarily their songs because that would be a giveaway, but they do cover songs. And the first one we can say, because probably if you haven't seen it yet, I don't know, probably not giving anything away because it's probably been on the internet, but first one was Peter Frampton, which I was surprised. I was blown away. I'm like, because a lot of these shows get kind of subpar, music people.
Well, just so that wasn't the first episode.
Okay.
First guest of that particular episode, but
okay.
There's been a few before that.
Okay. Yeah, that was the first one I caught.
Gotcha.
And the clues were really simple, and probably Jeremy too, because Peter Frampton's Jeremy's favorite.
Definitely one of my favorites. And I did not. The one clue I didn't pick up on. So they show a bunch of pictures, and I got all those. But his son actually came out and said that I hope that I bring you alive or something like that. And I didn't even pick up on that clue.
Oh yeah, there were other clues.
I got it from all the photos. Yeah. So. But
there was a rock that had classic on it, and then there was an album that said Live 1976, I think.
Yep.
And the people that were playing along I don't know, they didn't know music at all. Someone guessed Bon Jovi. Yeah. 76 Bon Jovi was like 14. He wasn't around. And then they had Humble. on a pie. I got it right away. I'm like, that's got to be Peter Frampton.
Yeah, they gave away his the first band he was a part of.
Yeah. And then at the end, I don't know how, I couldn't figure out how they pick the one person that they bring up to win. I think they can win $100,000. Something like that. I think it's whoever gets by how fast they can guess.
Yeah.
So, okay, so we'll go back to the top 10 here. So check this shows out. We Are Family, I really liked.
That's a good one.
And that's Anthony, I want to say Anthony Edwards, but Anderson. There, I got it. Anthony Anderson is the host. He was a comedian. It's not always
music guests.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
They do sing. Like one time, Cam Newton was a person.
Yeah. Well, Snooki was the one too.
Yeah,
from Jersey Shore.
But they always sing, and it's amazing because some of these people, not behind the glass, but the family members, some of them are really amazing singers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was just surprised with Peter Frampton because that's almost like bringing out Paul McCartney, you know?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. Because he's been around a long time. And he's got, I think he has some muscular arthritis problems. Surprised he can still play. And surprised he's touring. It's probably his last tour. Next, we're going to do the top 10 from the week ending February 18th, 1984. It's almost 40 years ago. It's before Jeremy was here.
Just before. But this is right in my wheelhouse for music that I love.
Yeah, like we mentioned before, Jeremy's mom and I she worked at the print shop I worked at, and we're around she's younger than me, but we listen to basically same music. And also Jeremy's stepdad, too.
Yep.
We're around I think he might be as old as me or a little bit older. I don't know.
I think he's a little older.
Yeah. Okay, so number 10, we have Let the Music Play by Shannon. I don't remember this song, to be honest. Shannon was an American singer, released September 19th, 1983, as both her debut single. Oh, now I remember it. Let the music play. Dun, dun, dun. You know, I can't sing.
I was surprised that this made the list, to be honest with you.
And it was her debut.
It's a very strong list, but this one was maybe kind of the lone underwhelmer. But anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
This, I think, only got to 10. I don't think it got any higher.
Right. So, makes sense.
This was her debut single, lead single from her 1984 debut album. It was written by Chris Barbosa and Ed Chisholm. It was the first of Shannon's 4 number ones on the U.S. Dance Club Songs chart, reaching the top spot in October 1983. It also peaked at number 2 on the Hot R&B Hip Hop song charts. And it was her only top 40 hit in the U.S. And some say that this song was the beginning of the dance pop era. So, you know, Dua Lipa probably has a framed picture of Shannon in her house.
Right.
Honoring the queen of dance pop. That was ranked 43rd on the 2009 VH1 special 100 greatest one-hit wonders of the 80s. Now, the song does appear in the video games Dance Central 3. Was that that might have been from the 1990s or whenever. Scarface, The World Is Yours. That's another game.
Okay.
We don't have to go into any more. Oh, no, wait a minute. In 2017, we have an update on Shannon. Okay. She was a contestant on the Fox game show Beat Shazam, where she was
that's a great show.
Where she was partnered with former Stetsasonic member Bobby Simmons. I have no idea what that is, what that band is. Number 9, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. We all know this song. Song was really overplayed. If you don't know this song, you're either, I think, in your early 20s, maybe 30, I don't know. Or you just didn't
living
listen to
under a
radio.
rock.
Yeah. That's why now if you go online and someone posts something about Taylor Swift and you get, the smart people that are like, who? If you're honestly saying who, I'm like really worried about you. You've never heard of Taylor Swift. Of course, the song was made famous by American singer-songwriter Cyndi Lauper, and it was written by a man. And I think I talked about this before. His name's Robert Hazard. Robert Hazard had some hits in the 80s, like minor hits. Like Escalator of Life, I remember that song. And I might have mentioned this before, but I actually saw Robert Hazard, and he was at this this little place in Phillipsburg, New Jersey. It was next to, I think it was Laneco at the time, the shopping center. There was a little place called Marbles.
Okay.
And they had booths, you could eat there, and they had a little stage, and Robert Hazard played there.
Wow.
I went to see him, and he played there 2 weeks in a row. I went both times. First time it was just him. And it was weird because he was approachable. I met him. He's since passed away. I got a signed photo. He had photos with him. And the next week, he didn't want anything to do with anybody because he had his band with him. And that really turned me off. So,
yeah,
not to speak of the dead, but I saw firsthand like what, I don't know what it was from one week to the other. It was literally the next week. He had his band and didn't want to talk to anybody. And maybe he had a bad week. I don't know. Maybe he realized he was playing at Marbles in Phillipsburg. This is my career now. So this was off of Cyndi Lauper's debut album, She's So Unusual. Now it's been covered either as a studio recording or a live performance. Over 30 artists have covered this song. Song reached number 2, Billboard Hot 100. It's considered one of Cyndi's signature songs. Oh, this is interesting. Robert Hazard wrote the song from the male perspective about women in the bedroom. So Cyndi Lauper, she actually changed some of the lyrics at the suggestion of her producer. And she also had her own suggestions about how her version should sound. Oh, there's one line, this is a song that I didn't hear correctly. I didn't know what she was saying. It's in the chorus. After she says that's all they really want, stretches out want, some fun. The next line is, what in the world can they excite? That's what I thought it was. But it's when the working day is done. Like, that's how I heard it. When was it? 84? Yeah, I was like 18. So what in the world can they excite? That's what I heard.
Wow.
Maybe that was an original lyric of Robert Hazard,
Right.
Maybe she threw that in there. Okay, so we're on 8. Owner of a Lonely Heart by Yes.
Love this song.
I have a confession. I've never liked Yes, except this song. And this song, I'm sure people that were really into Yes, progressive rock, they probably hated this song because it was radio friendly. I don't know what it is about Yes, either John Anderson's voice. I don't know. The only progressive rock I really got into was Rush. I mean, this could be the first progressive pop song. I don't know. But the keyboard, the guitar solo, I think it was something I never heard before, or maybe since. It's very unique. Now it's off their 11th studio album. So you can see it was the band's only single to reach number 1. And I don't know if they had any other singles that got even in the top 10. But you can see it, someone who liked Yes, this is their 11th album. There's bands I like that I didn't like the popular songs.
I feel Long Distance Runaround would have been one that potentially was a bigger hit. And then I've Seen All Good People, I think was another one of their big songs.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know that song. Now, believe it or not, they have 23 albums. And the last one, well, this is the thing. Do you know, their last one came out last year, but I don't think anyone knew. That. Yeah.
I knew, but I didn't go out of my way to check it out. I like Yes, but I'm not like a big Yes fan or anything. I like a few of their songs, so it's on a playlist for me, and if it comes on, it comes on. I won't go out of my way to seek them out, though.
Now, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is on Wikipedia, is that the song originally written by Trevor Rabin was written while he was on the toilet.
Oh.
Yeah, he was taking a shit. Yeah, I mean, picture it. You're in the bathroom taking a crap. Well, you're in the bathroom and, you got some candle burning maybe. You have a notepad and pencil next to the toilet.
Yeah.
And between your bowel expulsions, you write a number one hit. How does that happen? Right?
I don't know. I would have thought you would have said he was masturbating or something. Owner of a lonely heart.
It says while going to the toilet, he wrote the whole thing from beginning to end. That's
wow.
It says, yeah, that was a
doesn't say how long he was in there though.
Long bathroom break. Yeah.
Did it come like that, or was he in there for a few hours?
I have the feeling that people go in and edit these pages to see if anyone notices. But
man,
I don't know if is he still alive? We don't know. We could interview him.
That'd be great.
I don't know if he might still be alive.
First question.
We can ask him about that. Yeah. Is it true? We're in the toilet and wrote Owner of a Lonely Heart. Okay, next one is Thriller, and I know we've talked about this. I think we talked about it on our Halloween October show.
Yes.
It's a song that has its place, with Halloween music. I would never listen. I'm probably not the only one. I would never put this song on just to listen to it. I don't know why.
I skip it whenever it comes on.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, the guy who wrote it was Rob Temperton. He wrote Rock With You and Off the Wall for Jackson's album Off the Wall. And he wanted to write something theatrical to suit Jackson's love of film. Now, his first version was titled Starlight, with the chorus, "Give me some starlight, starlight sun." But Quincy Jones felt the song should be Quincy Jones didn't think that Starlight was a strong, says album title. I guess he was looking for an album title or something a song that would lead the album, because the album was called Thriller. He wanted something mysterious, considered several titles, including Midnight Man, which Jones felt was going in the right direction. You can imagine the meetings. Okay, you're getting there, but not quite, come back.
Right.
And he finally came up with Thriller. The songwriter worried that it was a crap word to sing. He said it sounded terrible. However, we got Michael to spit it into the microphone a few times and it worked. I think it's the way he sings it. So that was number, where are we? 7. Number 6, Genesis, who I love Genesis. That's All. Great song.
Always the same. It's just a shame. And that's all.
This is off their self-titled 83 album. This had what looks like plastic building blocks on the cover.
Yep.
I need to get this album because I had this album. It has Mama on it, which is a great song. So the single reached number 6, early 84, making it their first Billboard Hot 100 top 10 hit. Also had Second Home by the Sea as the B-side. And the UK single featured Taking It All Too Hard as the flip side. Now, this is weird. I found this. This is an odd fact. I didn't even know this existed, but the song is included in Rock Song Index, the 7,500 most important songs for a rock and roll era. 7,500. That sounds like my old iPod I had. I had like 7,500 songs on there. Imagine you're number 7,500. How important is your song? Come on. I'd say if you're in the first 200, 7,500 most important songs. That doesn't make sense. You got 7,500 people in the room. Everyone is important in this room. I mean, maybe, I don't know. So the song was an attempt to write a simple pop song with a melody in the style of the Beatles. And Phil Collins acknowledged in a subsequent interview that the song also features one of his attempts at a Ringo Starr drum part. Number 5, Talking in Your Sleep, The Romantics. Now, this is just great pop song. Great use of echoes on the vocals. Now, this band had, they had another hit with, what was their other hit?
The Romantics. Drawing a blank.
Oh, What I Like About You.
Yeah.
Which was really overplayed.
Yes.
You wonder why one band becomes really popular and one doesn't. I mean, if either of those songs came on the radio or I heard them anywhere, I would know it was the Romantics. And not a lot of people may not even know the name of the band. So they were always dressed, I think, similar, whether they were in suits or leather jackets. Now, I looked up the lead singer. And
okay.
Now, first of all, if you didn't know it was the Romantics that sang that song, you're not going to know the lead singer's name is Wally Palmar, Palmar. And he's 70, and he still has a full head of jet black hair.
Nice.
So he still performs. So this song was released in September 83. This song became the band's most successful single in the U.S., reaching number 3. I would think the other song would have reached higher. Now, this is off their album In Heat. It also went to number 1, and I don't think this chart exists anymore, on the Dance Disco Top 80 chart.
Oh, nice.
Number 1. The chart, I'm serious, that chart cannot exist. Disco? Maybe it's just dance now, dance chart.
Maybe.
So next we have exciting stuff here. We're at what number are we at? 4. Is 99 Luftballons by Nina. I remember this song well.
I like the German version of this song better than the American version.
Yeah. Well, I haven't heard this song in a long time, and I always thought that the American version also had a German part in it, but maybe I'm mistaken.
I don't know.
Unless I've obviously heard the German one then, if I've heard it in German too.
Yeah.
Here's some history on the song. While at a June 1982 concert by the Rolling Stones in West Berlin, Nina's guitarist Carlo Kargas noticed that balloons were being released. As he watched them move towards the horizon, he noticed them shifting and changing shapes where they looked like strange spacecraft, referring in the German lyrics as a UFO. He thought about what might happen if they floated over the Berlin Wall into the Soviet sector. And he also cited a newspaper article from the Las Vegas Review-Journal about 5 local high school students in 1973 who played a prank to simulate a UFO by launching 99 aluminized mylar balloons attached with ribbons to a traffic flare. The red flame from the flare reflected by the balloons gave the appearance of a large pulsating red object floating over Red Rock Canyon outside of Las Vegas. So the translation of the title is sometimes given as 99 air balloons, but the song became known in English as 99 red balloons. The band members expressed disapproval, though, at the English version of the song, 99 red balloons. In March 84, the band's keyboardist and song co-writer Hugh Farrenkrog Peterson said, "We made a mistake there. I think this song loses something in translation and even sounds silly." So they're trying for more serious, I guess, with the mysterious objects, UFO sighting and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always loved something about the song that always stood out to me. It was so unique and different. The up-tempo beat that it constantly has throughout the song. Something I always loved about it.
Yeah, it's a happy, like dancey song. And then we have number 3, Joanna, by Kool and the Gang. It's a nice song, but I noticed the keyboard is very annoying after a while. It sounds like a cat is playing the keyboard. You know, just playing the same notes over. Yep. da, 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 da. I don't know what it is.
It's very repetitive sounding.
Yeah. So the song features as its main subject a lady named Joanna, of course. And in the music video, Joanna is portrayed as the current owner of a small roadside cafe named Joanna's Diner.
Okay.
Yeah. And the video was filmed at the Colonial Diner in Lyndhurst, New Jersey. And the Colonial sign could be seen briefly outside in the opening seconds of the video. And it did peak at number 2 in the US for 1 week and number 2 in the UK. It's an okay song. It's just one of those kind of forgettable.
And it's not to be confused with Toto's Rosanna, because that's something totally different.
Number 2, we have Jump by Van Halen.
Van Halen.
That's my least favorite Van Halen song. Jeremy does not like when I talk about Van Halen. I don't know why.
I love Van Halen.
No, I love Van Halen too.
And I love both Van Halen and Van Hagar. So
I was more
there's no biased one way or the other for me.
I was more a David Lee Roth, I think, because of the time I grew up. And this, I think, is the first Van Halen song to use a synthesizer.
Yep. And that's why so many people who grew up with Van Halen, I think, are not a fan of the song.
Yeah, I like the more rockin' songs, the more that featured Eddie's guitar than Eddie on keyboards. But now this was written in 1981, or that keyboard part by Eddie Van Halen, and it was rejected by the other members of the band. Do you know what the song's about? I thought, this is what I thought.
No, I don't.
I just thought it was a fun song, and I thought it was about just dancing and jumping, and no, it's about someone jumping off a building.
Okay.
And if you think about it, yeah, that's what he's saying. You might as well jump.
Yeah.
I think at the time, like I said, my 18-year-old brain didn't think of someone committing suicide.
I wouldn't have thought of that either, honestly.
I was a happy teenager, so I wasn't a depressed teenager. So I guess thought of happy stuff. So in 1983, producer Ted Templeton asked David Lee Roth to listen to his unused song idea. Riding around in the back of his 1951 Mercury with band roadie Larry Hostler driving, Roth listened repeatedly to the tune. To come up with the lyric for it, he remembered seeing a TV news report the night before about a suicidal jumper. And Roth thought that one of the onlookers at such an event would inevitably yell, "Go ahead and jump." David Lee Roth bounced the suggestion off Hostler, who agreed it was good. However, instead of describing a potential suicide, the lyrics were written as an ontological invitation to action, life, and love. Now, this is another interesting thing. According to Daryl Hall of Hall & Oates, Eddie Van Halen told him that he copied the synth part from Kiss on My List and used it in Jump.
Interesting.
I have to listen to it more to compare the two.
Yeah.
And this, I remember the video, and the video actually won an MTV Video Music Award for Best Stage Performance. Because David Lee Roth is doing the kicks. I think that's why I didn't think anything of Jump, because it was David Lee Roth jumping around, right?
Right. Yep.
Might as well jump. Okay, we're at number 1, Karma Chameleon by Culture Club. I actually love this song. And I love the harmonica. It's different. Because there's harmonica throughout there's even a harmonica, I think, solo in the middle. The song just flows, and the title's kind of silly, but you can't help singing along when you're listening to it, or if you're having a bad day. Now, this was off their 1983 album Color by Numbers. It became the second Culture Club single to reach the top of the UK singles chart after Do You Really Want to Hurt Me? The record stayed at number 1 for 6 weeks and became the UK's biggest selling single of the year in 1983. Sold 1.39 million copies. Now, to date, it is the 38th biggest selling single of all time in the UK. It has now sold over 1.52 million copies. I would think that would be physical. I don't know what we're talking about anymore sometimes. Streaming.
Right.
Yeah.
Digital.
Spent 3 weeks at number 1, US Billboard Hot 100 in early 84. And it became their biggest hit and only US number 1 single among their many top 10 hits. So there we go. That's the week ending February 18th, 84. And next, we're going to talk about Footloose. Put on your Sunday shoes. No, take off your Sunday shoes.
Take off your Sunday shoes, yeah.
So I guess, when people go to church, they put on nice shoes, put on your sneakers. So I think first we're going to talk about the soundtrack, the music for the movie. This is one of these soundtracks, of course, we're talking 40 years ago, where the songs were written specifically for the movie. Now, there's still soundtracks like that. Footloose was remade, in 2011, and they used they re-recorded some of the songs, plus they have new ones too. So we still have movies that, like I said, have original. The latest probably is Barbie soundtrack. And we had a good song that came off of that was Billie Eilish. What I Was Made For. I really think that's a nice song. And that song was number 1 in Australia. So this is 9 songs on this soundtrack, and it reached number 1 on the US Billboard 200 chart, April 21st, 1984. And it stayed there until June 23rd, 1984. I guess on the Billboard 200 chart. Now, it had 6 Hot 100 top 40 hits, 3 of which reached the top 10. There were 2 number 1 hits, Footloose by Kenny Loggins and Let's Hear It for the Boy by Denise Williams. They reached number 1.
So funny because some of the artists that are on this soundtrack, you would have thought maybe a couple of other songs over those 2.
Well, Almost Paradise, which I really liked when it came out, is Ann Wilson and Mike Reno from Loverboy. It reached number 7. That reached number 7. And Somebody's Eyes by Carla Bonoff reached number 16. If you go on Wikipedia, you'll see there's a lot of contributors on this album. But one that stood out was David Foster. Have here the king of pop cheese, because he's worked with anyone from Neil Sedaka to Michael Bolton, Michael Bublé, people like that.
Right.
And he's even playing the synthesizer on track 6, which is I'm Free, Heaven Helps the Man. He's playing synthesizer. So track 1 is, of course, Footloose, the theme of the movie. This song appears 3 times in the movie, at the opening, and another scene in the closing scene, of course. Then we have Let's Hear It for the Boy, Almost Paradise. This was written by Eric Carmen and Dean Pitchford. And Dean Pitchford was the one who got this movie going. So I thought it most interesting that I think he was the producer. And, he's the script writer. And he helped write the songs, which I think is, I don't know if it's unheard of, but I think now they just get other artists to contribute to the soundtrack. But here you have someone that's putting this all together, almost like, let's say, Tim Burton. I don't know if he has any input on songwriting, but with Danny Elfman, he uses him a lot. Now, Eric Carmen, like I said, he wrote Almost Paradise. He was the lead singer in a 60s band, the Raspberries. And he also had the song Hungry Eyes, which was from Dirty Dancing. He's singing that song. That's his song. Let's see, we have Holding Out for a Hero, Bonnie Tyler. This was written by Jim Steinman, who wrote a ton of songs for Meatloaf.
Yep.
Dancing in the Sheets, awful song. And even this one, I'm Free, Heaven Helps the Man by Kenny Loggins and Pitchford. That's not a good song. Somebody's Eyes, Carla Bonoff. And then there's a Sammy Hagar song on here, which was Sammy wrote with Pitchford. The Girl Gets Around. And it's not on Apple Music. I don't know why.
I love that song, actually.
This song's a really good song, but it's the only song that doesn't really fit, with all the other songs.
Yep.
And then we have number 9, Never by Moving Pictures. Now, interesting enough, in 1998, they came out with a 15th anniversary collector's edition of the soundtrack, and they added 4 more songs, which I think were in the movie. Yeah, so you had the extended remix of Dancing in the Sheets, which I don't think anyone asked for. Now, did you notice Quiet Riot in the movie?
I freaking love Bang Your Head. That is one of my all-time favorite songs.
I haven't seen the original in a long time, and I didn't remember. And even in the remake, there's a scene in the remake, too.
Yep, where they briefly use it, yep.
And we got Hurt So Good, John Mellencamp, and Waiting for a Girl Like You. I don't remember hearing that song in the original.
I don't remember hearing that either.
So that was a soundtrack. So the movie Footloose was based on a true story. It's the town of Elmore City, Oklahoma. And the town had banned dancing since its founding in 1898. And it was an attempt to decrease the amount of heavy drinking. And one advocate of the ban was the Reverend from the nearby town of Hennepin, F.R. Johnson. And he said, no good has ever come from a dance. If you have a dance, somebody will crash it, and they'll be looking for only 2 things, women and booze. When boys and girls hold each other, they get sexually aroused. You can believe what you want, but one thing leads to another. So because of the ban, the town never had a prom, never had any proms until February 1980. The junior class of Elmore City's high school made national news when they requested permission to hold a junior prom, and it was granted. Let's see, school board president Raymond Lee, it was a tie, and he broke the tie with the words, "Let 'em dance." So apparently, Dean Pritchard, he's an Academy Award-winning lyricist. He also wrote the song Fame for the movie Fame, as well as Footloose and all the other songs. He co-wrote, I think it said all the songs on the soundtrack. But he's the one that kind of latched onto this story and wrote the script. Now, I really love the original, and it's an enjoyable movie, but there's not much to it if you break it down. It's basically the ban on dancing and them trying to get the ban lifted. Now, my intention, like I said, wasn't to watch the remake, but my wife, I mentioned Footloose, we didn't know it was from 2011. We thought it was not that old. That's like 13 years ago. Right. So she seemed interested in wanting to watch it. Neither one of us had watched it, the remake, so we watched that too. And Jeremy, you watched both of them, right? Recently, or just the original?
Yes, I have. Yep.
Okay.
I watched just the original recently. I've seen the remake as well, but it's been a while.
Okay. Mainly, I want to talk about the original, but we're gonna compare a little bit back and forth. Now, the original cast was, of course, Kevin Bacon as Ren McCormick, Laurie Singer as Ariel Moore, John Lithgow, he plays the Reverend Shaw Moore, Diane Wiest as V.I. Moore, Chris Penn as Willard Hewitt, and Sarah Jessica Parker is Rusty.
Yep.
And they're all in their, I think they're all in their 20s. Actually, Kevin Bacon was 25 and Laurie Singer was 26. So they're playing high school kids like we've seen before. Like Stranger Things is one of the, I think there was one of the guys was like 30 playing an 18-year-old or something in Stranger Things.
Really?
28, one of the guys. Yeah. You know, sometimes some people look young until they hit a certain age. People think they're young, so they can pull it off, you know. I didn't think anything of it with Kevin Bacon or Laurie Singer. You know, you have some people, and then you have some people that are 17, 18. They look like they're 25, so.
Right.
And let's see. Oh, we have a guy that played Willie. His name's John Laughlin. And Jeremy, he's most well known for his portrayal as a stormtrooper in the Star Wars Holiday Special, I found out. The guy that played Woody, I don't know if we remember Woody. And he was also in The Lawnmower Man. Another great, classic as Jake Simpson. And I'm sure it was a small part.
Pretty sure that Stephen King to this day does not take any ownership of that movie.
Okay, Lawnmower Man. Did you read the short story?
Fantastic short story.
It's so different. It's literally about a guy that I think is eating grass, if I recall correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. That's why I was excited when the movie came out.
The story was amazing. The movie was terrible.
And then we have Frances Lee McCain as Ethel McCormick. Now, she is Ren's mother. Now, do you know she was also Lorraine's mother in Back to the Future?
Okay.
Leah Thompson. Yep. And she was also Gordy's mother in Stand By Me.
Okay.
Another Stephen King.
Yeah, good. That one's good.
Now, of course, I'm partial to the original because I saw it when it came out. Like I said, I would have been 18. And I probably I don't know if I related to the movie. I mean, did you go to any proms? I only went to one prom.
I went to my high school prom. That was it.
Yeah, I think I went to my senior prom with my future ex-wife. But that was about it. And it's not that I didn't have girlfriends. I just don't think I had a girlfriend for long enough. I remember the one time Matt and I, we walked through a cornfield over to the high school to see what was going on. We weren't going to the prom. And then we hung out with a couple other girls that weren't going to the prom. So that kind of worked out. So
there you go.
Now, I think Kevin Bacon was, I looked this up. This is probably his 10th or 12th film, but he was still unknown, at this point.
Right.
Now, in the remake, this guy, Kenny Wormmold, as Ren McCormick. Mm-hmm. And, I really would suggest that he should have changed his name. I don't know if it matters, anymore. It used to matter with a name. You got Kevin Bacon. Who doesn't love bacon, right?
Right.
I mean, when you say his name, you think you can almost smell him because it's bacon. But
he was in the first Friday the 13th, wasn't he?
Yeah, and I think it was before Footloose.
Right.
Yeah, but I still don't think he wasn't a name at that point.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let's get back to Kenny Wormald. It's Wormald. Wormald. Maybe it's Wormald, right? He really hasn't done anything. He's no Kevin Bacon. He's like, it's been like 13 years, right? I don't know when the remake came out, what month, but
right.
I mean, this guy was in Fear the Walking Dead, 4 episodes. And I really don't think anyone watched that but me and my wife. I don't hear anybody talk about that show. Now, Kevin Bacon I have here, he went on to She's Having a Baby, Flatliners, JFK, some big movies.
Yep.
And of course, we know him. Everybody knows Kevin Bacon. And then you have Julianne Hogue as Ariel in the remake. I only know her from Dancing with the Stars. I might have watched it when she was on. And she was in Dirty Grandpa.
Okay.
Now, the remake, we have Dennis Quaid as the Reverend Shaw Moore. Dennis Quaid did a good job.
Yep.
Andie MacDowell as his wife. I loved her in Groundhog Day.
Yes.
And I don't think she hasn't really done anything, I think, since Footloose. She's one of those, she shows up once in a while. And a lot of other unknown actors in the remake. Now get this, the guy who wrote the remake, he won an Academy Award for Hustle and Flow for Best Original Song.
Wow.
So this is what we're working with here, okay? And the song was called It's Hard Out. I'm not making this up. I have to preface that because people think, because some things I make up, I'll tell you. It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp. That's the song that won the Academy Award, and that was the beginning of the downfall of the Academy Awards.
That exact moment.
Yeah. But this is the guy that wrote the remake of Footloose. How is that?
I don't know.
And I have here, imagine friends coming over and they see your Oscar. Like they don't know you want, and they're like, whoa, how'd you get that? Well, I wrote a song about pimping. And they're like, that's special, dude. That's special, man. Okay, enough of the jokes. We have the character of Ren McCormick and his mom, Ethel. This is the original. Moved to Beaumont to live with Ren's aunt and uncle. Now, Ren's father has passed, and they're from Chicago. Now, they did change a little bit between the original and the remake, but as Jeremy and I talked a little bit about that, they used a lot of the same dialogue in the remake.
Yep.
They did change some scenes. I mean, the big premise of the movie is that there's a ban on music and dancing. In the remake, Ren he's from Boston, and he moves by himself. There's no mother. They cut her out of the script, and it's a small southern town. It was filmed in Georgia, so we assume maybe it's Georgia. And the other one is more, I'd say, Illinois, or Ren moved, and his mom moved from Chicago, and then they moved to a small town, so maybe somewhere around there. And then in the original, Ren already owns a car. Did you notice that? And it's the same, it's a Volkswagen Bug. And the remake... I
did not notice that, but...
Yeah, somehow he already has his own car. And it's a Volkswagen. Okay. And the remake, Ren is given a car which basically needs to be put back together. And it's a Volkswagen. Right. Now, we talked about Quiet Riot. I noticed in the remake, he's in a barn, and there's a box, and there's just a couple albums, but one is the Quiet Riot album in one of the boxes.
Yep.
I think the original, they're playing the song, or he's playing it on the radio. I think what's funny is in the original, Ren gets pulled over for blasting music, and I don't know how loud do you have to blast music to have someone hear it outside your car. And wasn't he was driving, right?
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't like he was parked and the cop kind of slowly came by, I think.
Right.
Now, we already know that the Volkswagen doesn't have the greatest stereo system, unless he put one in. But the remake, he takes the speakers, he pulls them out and listens to them, and they're horrible. And then he puts this huge speaker under the hood of the car.
Yeah.
Which we know the Volkswagen, the engine's in the back, and there's nothing in the front. So he puts this huge speaker. Now, we talked about Ariel. She is the daughter of the Reverend, and she's dating some dude named Chuck. Both movies show Ariel for the first time outside her father's church after church service. That's where Ren meets Ariel. I have this problem with the name Ren because it sounds like a girl. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a guy's.
Really? Oh, I think of Ren and Stimpy.
Well, I think they took there were two, something with the original story. There were two guys that this guy Pritchard talked to that I guess they were part of the petition original story. And somehow he took both of their names and put them together. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I think I read.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be Renford.
Yeah.
So the Reverend is played by John Lithgow in the original and Dennis Quaid in the remake. And I kind of believe John Lithgow would be a good pastor. Dennis Quaid, I don't know. He seems too hip, maybe, or too. And he seems like a person that would like fight to have dancing and not be against it. I don't know. Now, I was very impressed.
Randy Quaid in that role.
Yeah. Now, I was very impressed with Juliana Hogue. The one scene where she confronts her father, and where the big scene is where she tells him she's not a virgin.
Right.
But I think her scene was really a lot better than the original scene to me. And I like how I don't know what the film was rated. I assume these were rated PG. Couldn't have been R. And I like how they kind of, I agree. I like how they kind of downplayed the sex scenes. I mean, you could have, if you had teenage kids or even younger, like 8, 10, you could probably have them watch either one of these movies, I would think. Because the original, we have Ariel and Chuck on a blanket, like outside a wooded area, and you see her buttoning up her pants briefly. And then the remake, you have Ariel, and there's some storage unit the guy's got his race car in, and she's about to unbutton her top, and Chuck slides the door closed. So, but they don't show anything, which is fine. But I didn't get a sense that Ariel was in love with either Chuck or Ren. I think I got the sense that she was tired of Chuck, and here's this other guy. Yeah, I like him. I mean, there wasn't any big sparks or anything with either. I mean, the one scene that I had trouble with was in both movies is Chuck beating up Ariel.
Yeah, and I thought that.
And I thought the original was more intense because she's bleeding from the face.
Right.
The other scene is, the other great scene is when Chuck is in his pickup truck. I think it's towards the beginning. It might be, and he's taunting the girls that are in the car. It's a 2-lane road. He's driving on the opposite, direction. Right. And Ariel climbs out the window of the car and into the truck right before the tractor trailer is about to hit him.
Right.
Now, I did see comments on this that people think it's impossible or couldn't be done. Well, I have a story, short, but my friend Mark, this is around 1987, 88. I was in a car with my friend Mark and my other friends, and my friend Steve's sister and maybe some of her friends were in another car. And we were side by side, and Mark climbed out the window, and I think we were going about 40, 50 miles an hour, and climbed into the other car. Well, the two of us were moving. I didn't dream it. It actually happened. That was so
interesting.
But I'm wondering, I have to talk to him because I'm wondering if he got that from Footloose. If he got that idea. I mean, we're only talking like 4 years later.
Right.
So the movie ends, with Ren going before the council, and he's trying to get them to overturn the ban on dancing. And I thought the original was kind of hokey. With Ren, there's a scene with him and his mom talking about losing his father, and that he didn't feel he had a purpose. I mean,
right.
What's his purpose? That he wants to dance? I mean, I don't know.
He wants to be a dancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they threw in these serious things in there that the movie's not to be taken that seriously. That was my only problem with the movie. It's a fun movie.
Right.
I mean, it's no Back to the Future. It was a pretty big movie, though, at the time. So both movies kind of end with the Reverend kind of giving in. Not to have the dance in town, but both movies, there's a place, I don't know if it's a barn, a factory. They both movies, they clean up everything. They're moving
site location.
Yeah, they're moving bags of, I don't know what it is, grain or whatever. I do like the end of the original over the end of the remake, even though they're about the same, is because I hate Blake Shelton. I do not like him. He's singing Footloose, if you didn't know. It's not Kenny Loggins. They kind of tried to make it more country, the remake. But I like the scene, and I think it's in both. But I remember the original where the camera goes around and everybody's sitting, and they're basically waiting for Kevin Bacon's character and Ren and Ariel to come in.
Right.
And Chuck and his friends show up, and there's a fight outside. And they kind of just beat them up. And Ren comes in, and he says, "I thought this was a party, let's dance." And then Footloose kicks in, and they're dancing all over the place. So
yep.
I think it's one of the better endings of a movie, just to bring it all together. Now, it's weird though, because the original, I didn't really note this with the remake. Do you know there's 22 minutes without music in the movie? There's a 22-minute, and I'm not adding up the minutes. No, there's actually 22 minutes in there where there's no music at all.
Well,
I had to go.
So
I rewound it. Yeah,
that was actually an observation that I had. Even though this is a musical, it didn't feel like you were kind of trapped into that typical musical style movie.
Yeah,
and maybe it is that big 22-minute break, but it wasn't one of those boring movies where it's like, okay, sing and then have some movie and sing, and the music made sense. So you were already kind of into the storyline. And once they went into some of the dancing and the musical parts, it just went right along with the movie. It reminds me a lot of like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, because even though that's technically a musical, it doesn't feel like one, because the storyline entices you the whole way through, that when they stop for those musical breaks, it's still along the lines of the movie where it makes sense.
So this isn't considered what I consider, or maybe anyone considers, a musical, because it's considered a musical drama. I don't think anyone in the movie, any of the actors are singing. It's just the music background. It's no La La Land or anything like that.
Right.
Like
I'm glad that you said it's considered a drama also, because I was going to compare it to like a chick flick, but it doesn't even feel like that. It almost feels more action-y based. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's where the drama comes in.
Yeah.
Not action from the standpoint of fighting and guns, but it's just constant buildup. There's no slow periods to me for it being a musical movie.
It's weird. Back then, we have a couple scenes where you could actually, what they called, play chicken. And one is the scene with Chuck in his truck. He's kind of playing chicken with the girls in their car. And then the train scene in both movies, where Ariel stands on the tracks while the train is coming. And of course, in both movies, Ren gets her out of the way before she gets hit by the train. The remake, I don't think I'll ever watch again. I have to say, the original, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, I might, I'll watch it, again. I have a little bit, so we wrap up soon, is basically information on the movie. This is the original. So again, it came out February 17th, 1984. It's 107 minutes. So it's doesn't go on too long.
I was going to say, it's not too long.
Now I'm going to do what Kristen does with the horror movies. Unless Jeremy looked this up already.
I did not.
The movie only cost $7.5 million to make.
Only?
Right? Yeah. Well, back then, I don't know what it would be now. It's 40 years ago. Might be $100 million. How much did it take in, Jeremy? How much do you think it made off of the 7.5?
90 million.
You're actually kind of close. You went over, but it's 80 million.
Okay.
80 million. Now, the Rotten Tomatoes gives it only at 53%. 45 critics reviews are positive. Average rating of 5.8 out of 10. That's not good, It
seems a bit unfair.
The website's consensus, it says, reads, there's not much dancing, but that's because they can't dance, people, until the end.
They have to learn.
Yeah. But what's there is great. The rest of the time, Footloose is a nice hunk of trashy teenage cheese. I don't know who wrote that. So here's a little bit before we wrap it up, on casting. Tom Cruise and Rob Lowe, and of course we're talking about the original now, were both slated to play the lead. And it's funny, these movies that are so ingrained in our memories, I've said it before, but imagine if someone else, I think we would just think of that person as in that movie. But we know it's Kevin Bacon. It's not Tom Cruise.
Yep. Nope.
Now, the casting directors were impressed with Tom Cruise because of the famous underwear dance sequence in Risky Business. But he was unavailable for the part because he was filming all the right moves. Rob Lowe auditioned 3 times and had dancing ability and the neutral teen look that the director wanted. Neutral teen. I guess boy next door, like girl next door. That was another thing. I think Laurie Singer, I think, was more believable as just the Reverend's daughter, where Juliana Hogue, I don't know, I didn't get a wholesomeness from her from the beginning. I got the feeling she was not only doing Chuck, but the whole town. That's what I got from her somehow. Anyway. Also, Christopher Atkins claims he was cast as Ren but lost the role. Kevin Bacon had been offered the main role for the Stephen King film Christine at the same time. That he was asked to do the screen test for Footloose, and he chose to take the gamble on the screen test. And after watching his earlier film Diner, that was the other film Kevin Bacon was in, Diner, the director persuaded the producers to go with Kevin Bacon.
Interesting.
Now, the role of Ariel was Madonna auditioned, which is hard to believe because that's like really early on, but who knows?
Yep.
And a girl, I don't recognize her name, Haviland Morris, but she was Caroline Mulford in 16 Candles.
Oh, okay.
She also auditioned, and Valerie Bertinelli and Jennifer Jason Leigh were also considered. And it was filmed various locations in Utah County, Utah. And the high school and tractor scenes were filmed in and around Payson and Payson High School. Don't know if that's still there. And the bar scene was filmed at the Silver Spur Bar in downtown Provo. The bar was torn down in the mid-2000s to make way for the Utah Valley Convention Center.
Oh, wow.
Maybe you'll be there someday, Jeremy, at an autograph show.
Maybe.
You'll be
maybe.
like, this is where the bar was in Footloose, people. And they'll be like, what the hell are you talking about, Jeremy? So, the critical response on the film, Roger Ebert called it a seriously confused movie that tries to do three things and does all of them badly. It wants to tell the story of a conflict in a town. It wants to introduce some flashy teenage characters. Flashy, yeah, right. And part of the time it wants to be a music video. There was a musical version, 1998, of Footloose. Featured many songs from the film. And it was presented on London's West End, on Broadway, and elsewhere. And the musical is generally faithful to the film version with some slight differences in the story and characters. I don't think they can do the tractor thing or with the buses on the stage. So,
right.
And then one last thing, the remake cost $24 million to make, and it made $63.5 million. So the original did make more than the remake. I mean, I give the original, I would give it like a 6 as far as films go, because there's a lot more. I love 80s films. I love that era. It's weird. I love either like 1950s, like black and white, like to see the cars and even the interior of the apartments and the kitchens and stuff like that. And then I also like the 80s because I was in high school, and the music and, you know, especially the music movies from the 80s or movies that were driven like the John Hughes films. Yep. So again, so did you like the original or the remake? Or you'd kind of...
I like them both about the same.
Okay.
I didn't prefer one over the other.
Okay. So if you haven't seen, I'd watch the original first and then watch the remake. I'd do it that way.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that does it for our podcast. And we thank everyone for hanging in there, listening to us drone on. And we'll be back next month. And I don't like to say what we're doing in the future, but I'm pretty sure we'll be talking about Dave Grohl's book. We're a little late on it, but I just found a copy. It's weird. I went on eBay and I found I don't know if it was a thrift stores are on there, you know, or like Goodwill.
Yeah.
And I found it for like $5 or something.
Okay.
And they canceled my order today. And I read it, and it's this whole thing. Like, all you have to say is like, we thought we had it and we don't, right? They're talking about the warehouse and I don't need to know all that. You can't, whatever, right? So I had to go back in, and luckily I found another one because that was the soft cover. I found a hardcover for like $8 or something. So
there you go.
So that's going to be our next podcast, and I think we might talk a little bit about Nirvana if we have time. It's probably going to all work out with the book. I'm sure Dave goes into the Nirvana and all that. But I hope it's like we did Brian Johnson, AC/DC. We really had, Jeremy and I both agree that was one of our best podcasts, just going through the book. And I'll probably
so much fun.
We'll probably do the same thing. I have to see how many chapters, and we could skip over some things, but we'll tell you all about it. So thank you for listening, and you'll hear us again soon. And remember, turn off that TV.
And turn up the music.
Okay. You've been listening to No Good Music, intro and exit music by the band 99%. Today's show is produced and edited by Rob J. Lilly and recorded at the Did You Say 7 Studios in Washington, New Jersey. You can find No Good Music on Apple Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, Pandora, and almost anywhere you listen to podcasts.